It's all good. I'm gonna start recording here.
Okay.
Sure.
Can you see us all on there, or is everything all right?
Oh, you guys gotta speak, and then I will. I'm not.
Hi there.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Oh, you guys look great too.
This
Nice.
is us talking to you.
We have a real microphone and everything this time.
This is awesome.
Oh, there we go.
I was telling Danielle about last time when we did one with you, and we were on the fly somewhere in some hotel, and the sound was terrible. We had all those problems, but you just made it work because you're awesome. But this is better.
I believe me, it's by accident when it works out. Oh, speaking of accidents, this is why I only drink LaCroix, because the first thing I did was I spilled my LaCroix. Yeah, but that's why it's LaCroix, because it's mainly water with just a little bit of flavor added to it.
Oh, just like Bud Light.
Oh, snap.
That was good.
Oh, I wish. I guess for broadcasting, I might be able to use that. Just like Bud Light. All right. Well, we're even a few minutes early, so we can hang out a little bit. And I am broadcasting, so anyone who is on. Doug, are you able to? Do you want me to see what's going on YouTube?
Yeah. Let me give me just a second, and I will find out.
Ooh, Doug's gonna hop on the
Do
YouTube.
I see big calendars behind you? Because we have our big calendar behind us too.
Yeah, I'm down at National Western today. Because there's a pet expo that desperately needs some sound reinforcement. So yeah, super fun.
Oh, I see your little communication mic over there on your shoulder. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a 10-4.
Oh, big 10-4.
You're looking nice. Official. That looks like super official. And yeah, we're in our kitchen right here in our home in Kansas City.
Awesome. Cool. So Danielle is hanging out in Kansas City. Do you have some shows? Oh, wait. I hate when I do that. I always ask these things, and then I was like, oh, I should have waited till we officially started. We are going to officially start in 3 minutes.
Yeah, save the juicy stuff.
Hold your breath until 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We always want Danielle to hang out in our kitchen as much as possible. So she has an open invitation for hanging in my kitchen.
Doug, are you on Twitter? And if so, what's your handle?
What is this Twitter thing that you speak of?
It's kind of like the Facebook thing for me, and I'm thinking of joining Instagram too. So
Instagram is awesome.
Is it? All right.
Yeah, it's fun.
Only problem is that
way less complicated.
It got bought by Facebook, but hey, nothing's perfect. Yeah, I'm not a Facebook person, unfortunately.
Facebook and Sony own everything.
Yeah. Really? Does Sony really own everything too? I didn't know that there's like a Sony cartel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's a good.
Have you sent out the link for the YouTube?
I did. I did.
Oh, that's the first link, right?
Yes, that is the link.
And we're okay to post that publicly, right?
Yep. And one of these days, I'm gonna get my.
Can you retweet that?
Yes, I can.
I have. You will not believe how much learning I've been having. In other words,
can you go retweet your tweet as
at you guys? Retweet at you guys. Nice.
Yeah, we're retweeting.
Yeah, we're getting meta over here.
Yeah, it's a little metaphysical over here. Tweeting and retweeting of.
We're live, and all it is us like being on our cell phones and picking our noses. Hi, Trevor from Michigan. We're live, guys.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, we are. Yeah. Well, we got less than a minute here. I'll be official.
Always try to be interesting and don't pick your nose.
No.
Showbiz 101.
I don't know. We got a comment last time.
When I was farmer's blood before we
Doug, no, don't do it, Doug. Don't, no.
Who invited Doug? God.
All right. Hey, it's 1:00 officially, so we can start for real. I'm going to just do the pause thing, and then introduce us, and then we'll go from there. So here we go. Aloha, patrons and listeners. This is Stuart Yoshida, host of the OokTown Podcast, where we talk about all things ukulele. And once again, we are broadcasting live to whoever's out there on the internets. So great to have everyone here because we got some returning guests. I have some special things coming up, so I wanted to have them on the show. And they're all together, so let's all welcome them. We've got Danielle ate the sandwich, and we've got Victor and Penny, or Aaron and Jeff, aka Victor and Penny. How do you like that? That's always a little confusing for me. What do you prefer? Like
We like Aaron and Jeff of Victor and Penny.
Aaron and Jeff of Victor and Penny. There you go, folks. And they're all in the in Kansas City,
In the kitchen.
lounging around in the kitchen. So this is like so cool.
It's a beautiful rainy day here, and we're just tucked in on Sunday afternoon in our kitchen talking to you. Can't think of anything better.
Nice. Well, I've got some great.
No, wait, that you can't think of anything better to do, or you can't think of anything better than.
Exactly. And we've got Doug Brown, who is broadcasting from his office. So he's a hard worker. It's a Sunday, and he's yet working at the. What's this weekend? Because there's always something happening.
Oh yeah. So this weekend is the Rocky Mountain Pet Expo, and yesterday was grappling. So they were all full of the wrestling.
Grappling? What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Explain that.
Yeah.
It's just so it's like wrestling, except it's mostly Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Oh,
and
no kidding. All right.
yeah, they get like 1,200 people, and they all kind of wrestle down until they get down to just two people. Then somebody wins, or maybe they don't. I don't know. I've never actually watched the show. I just go in and listen to it. So
you just go in and listen to it. All right. Well,
exactly.
That is awesome that you're able to join us.
Yeah.
It sounds like, and now in this corner, weighing in at 258 pounds, it's it's somebody, I don't know, Joe Jackson.
Joe Jackson.
But then is there a lot of like,
Yeah. He wasn't there, so that's a safe name to use. Oh, and Trevor. Hi, Trevor from Michigan. It's good to see you. Well, we don't see you, but you're watching us, so
But you can see us.
good job on you.
That is very awesome. Before we get started too far, I wanted to give some shout outs. So first of all, to Iain Paterson. He couldn't join us. He had to, just like Doug, he had to work today, but he couldn't be near a webcam. So we'll get you on one of these shows, Iain. Then I want to say hi and hello and thanks to Cam, who he listened to that show on the Kala U base, and he was assuring me that they've done some improvements. So the intonation on the U bass is much better. So maybe I should try it out, is I think the bottom line. Ross, he's hanging out here in Fort Collins. He got a hold of me and said, hey, what do we do for ukulele stuff? And so I told him about all of the ukulele happenings over there in the Front Range. So Ross, thanks for reaching out. And then Rachel, for contacting me about a book called A Stowaway Ukulele. You might have seen that in the Ukulele magazine. It's a story about a ukulele that went to the Antarctic and beyond and all kinds of stuff. So it's by Larry Bartram. I'm reading it right now. So as I get through it, if I find anything interesting, I'll let you guys know about that. But thanks, Rachel. All right. Well, let's get going on this. One of the exciting things that's happening is Aaron, Jeff, and Danielle are holding a weekend workshop series called Wonderstruck. And so that's the first thing I want to hear about. When did this all come about? Tell me a little bit about it first.
So it's called Wonderstruck Ukulele Academy, and it really came out of the music district in Fort Collins. So we'd done a workshop there, ukulele workshop. Was that last year?
Mm-hmm.
And it went really well. I think we had like 63 people come or something.
Wow.
It was really huge. And so the music district wants to start a series called the Academy, Jam Academy. And they've done one where they focus on a particular instrument, and they've done one with banjos. So they hired a bluegrass band to come in and kind of create the curriculum or use curriculum they were already using and sort of craft it to fit this concept of a light weekend event. It's not a real heavy event, but a light weekend event. And it went really, really well. And so then they approached us and said, would you guys put together one based on ukulele? And would you be interested in working with this girl named Danielle the Sandwich?
And go, who?
So, yeah,
I've never heard of her.
Look her up.
Yeah, we'll check her out.
And now she's in your kitchen. That's amazing.
That was the term of the Wonderstruck Ukulele Academy agreement. I'll do it as long as I can be in their kitchen.
It's a little awkward sometimes, but mostly we're working it out. So yeah, we just thought it was a really cool idea. And so the three of us just started talking about it. It's been a while. How long have we been working on this? A year, maybe?
A year?
Trying to figure out if we were going to do something like that, and with the assistance and the structure offered to us by the wonderful people and staff and, of the music district, which is offering us their facility and some things like that. What would we want it to be about? And so we thought we wanted to focus on something that's of real interest to us and something that we're not seeing offered in some of the other great uke events that are happening, because there's lots of great events happening and we participate in them. But we thought, what could we bring that would be a little bit different? And so we came up with Wonderstruck.
Okay, so you're just like you're doing a great job of marketing, because I'm like, okay, so it's something different, but you're not telling me what's. Oh, what is it? We have to go. Is it because we have to go to this? Otherwise, we're not going to find out.
Yeah, well, it's really focusing on performance and songwriting.
Okay.
I want to start. I'm just trying to let the other kids here speak a little bit. I don't want to.
Yeah, I think we didn't want to call it a uke festival because we are developing it in a way that is suited to our skills as Victor and Penny and Danielle the Sandwich, and we also plan to travel it around if we can. So
cool. Portable.
So it's sort of a moving, ebbing and flowing thing. It might grow. It might get even more intimate. This is our very first one. Yeah. So I think we're hesitant to call it a uke festival because it feels different for us. We're not festival promoters. We're musicians. Creating a ukulele event, and we're tailoring it to what we have high interest in and what we would love to see more at. That we don't find at festivals for some of the students that we work with who have hinted on wanting to learn more about certain things.
And sometimes not even just hinting, like if this stuff people have just asked for. We teach, Jeff and I do a little series here in Kansas City, and it's we started doing workshops that were kind of a little broader, but they've gotten more and more focused as the people that we work with here. The group has gotten a little smaller and more intimate, and they want more advanced and things. And so, we're listening to what they're saying. We're thinking, this is interesting. Not that this is definitely an advanced weekend, but just the idea of trying to tailor classes to what people are asking for.
Okay. And Jeff, you were about to say something too.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that, like when Danielle and both Aaron were alluding to it kind of being a flowing thing. Like this first one coming up in Fort Collins is going to concentrate on performance and songwriting. Could be the next one we do down the road in, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Could focus on other things. I think a big part of these first few that we're doing is that we're hoping that people want to come and hang out with the three of us and figure out what it is that they like about what we do that they can learn. And we've even talked about in the future adding other instructors, but for now it's like, come and hang out with us for a weekend and learn what it is we do and how we do it.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hang out. If you need a roadie, let me know. I will come with your equipment, whatever you need. That is awesome. And the music district, for people who haven't been there, is incredible. I mean, I've been in their facilities and I was just like blown away going, really? This is like world-class everything. on a small scale. It's like then I guess the other nice thing is that it's not like a huge school per se.
No.
It's kind of small and intimate. There's the practice room is good size, but it's not immense. And the I guess that's a recording room too. I haven't been in the I guess there's a performance area kind of behind the main desk. Is that where you guys are going to be?
Yeah, it's neat. Well, that's where we gave that first workshop last year, and we'll do probably the bulk of Wonderstruck in that room. It's kind of neat because it's set up like you feel like you're in someone's living room, but it's
is that right? Ooh,
yeah.
It's really
okay. I definitely want a roadie then, and so I can at least experience that. So, go ahead.
For me, too, the other thing that was exciting about the opportunity of doing the Weekend Academy is that Jeff and I have been doing a performance workshop for almost 2 years now, I guess. Yeah, I guess it has been. And we were doing it. We started doing it in Reno, and then Doug Reynolds had us back, and we did it again. And it's really a 2-part performance workshop that people seem to really, really like. So we've given it here in Kansas City, and we've given it in a few other places, and we wanted to try to bring that to more people. And that actually, there's a real synergy with Danielle, because a few years ago, Danielle was here in Kansas City, and we did a workshop together. And as one component of the workshop that we did, we gave live feedback to people that brought in a song for us.
Okay.
So that is one component of that we kept in our performance workshop that we've been doing. So that was something too. I wanted to kind of build on that idea of trying to give people more skills at whatever level they are.
Yeah.
For performance, so that they feel more confident and more comfortable. And we've just been focusing on that a lot for the last couple of years, and would just like to bring that to bear a little bit more.
Yeah. And Danielle, did you like when the music district approached you, or is it like, oh yeah, this is something I've been wanting to do, or is it just what attracted you to jump in?
Yeah, I was especially excited to do something in Fort Collins because having been based in Fort Collins for so long, I actually haven't done any ukulele events, educational events. And I had just taught a class in Loveland, teaching some players to play a song, and which just like reminded me again how exciting Wonderstruck will be to actually do an educational event focused in the Fort Collins area for some of those players. I know Fort Uke is probably listening, and there's a lot of people, especially who attended Victor and Penny's free workshop at the Music District. So we know there's an interest, and it's exciting to bring stuff, education, fun, music to people who live in that area. Because the Denver Uke Fest is great, but it's also cool to represent the ukulele community in our hood of Fort Collins.
And the thing I see as different, which I see more and more events drifting towards that, is that ukulele festivals are awesome. And it's almost like a taste test, right? You get this and that, and you want claw hammer, you want improvising, you want performance, you want you name it, and they have it. Excuse me, but it is sort of like a taste test. And but now I'm seeing things like what you guys are doing, plus James Hill. James Hill has this ukulele initiative, which is basically teaching. My understanding is it's like getting certified to be an ukulele teacher. So you're sort of specializing or focusing in on an area, and it's kind of a long-term thing. So I can see this as, you start off with this one thing, event, or a 3-day event. Is it 2 or 3 days?
Just 2 days.
2 days.
2-day event. But it's sort of like, you can build on that, and maybe you'll come back. Maybe they'll have you back again, and you go, this is Wonderstruck Part 2. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a little deeper dive, right? I think that's what you're getting at. So
exactly.
We're still going to have all the best stuff about Uke Fest, which are like jams and community. So that's definitely going to be a big part of it too. And then hanging out with us, and we're keeping the attendance small and intimate. So everybody's going to get real hands-on, one-on-one instruction, which I think that's great too, because sometimes in the big Uke Fests, it's fun to have so many people there, but I think it's hard to get a lot of one-on-one time with instructors, but you'll get tons of that with us. So
Well, and ideally for each small little group, and you can have a larger group, but 12 people around there is a perfect size for an instructor. And if you have more than one instructors, you can spread the wealth, so to speak. And anyway, it sounds great. That's really, I think, a good situation that you guys are coming up with. Well, go ahead.
We're gonna do some group stuff too. So we're writing a group theme song, camp song. So they're going to be
nice.
so there'll be like a little button at the end of it that we're going to do some small group stuff, and we're going to do some large group stuff. There'll be some jams, and then we're all going to write something together, which should be really fun. We hope our theme song, our camp theme song.
Yeah. And again, I'm sure we'll get to this at the end, but it's called Wonderstruck Ukulele Academy. Mm-hmm. So if you were hearing us talk about this and don't know exactly what we're mentioning, we've got a website, we've got stuff online, and it is up in October in Fort Collins, Colorado, October 5th and 6th.
And as a matter of fact, you can find that link in the show notes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
As always.
Yeah. We're talking about it growing and changing, but we're really, really hoping that the first one will be awesome. It's exciting to know where it will go and how it will evolve, just as a lot of uke fests and ukulele education is evolving. But we're really excited for the first one and hope we can make it really, really a great success, so we can continue to bring our thing to everybody who is playing and learning and enjoying the ukulele.
There's going to be some silliness and some fun, I'm pretty sure, because
I can't not be silly. Yeah. You feel me, Doug. I can't not be silly.
We like to have a good time, so there'll be some of that. So if you don't like to have a good time, this probably isn't for you. I think we'll be right.
No poop heads allowed.
Well, since we're
getting into the salty language today, there.
Since you guys are talking about this, here's my thoughts on kind of where things seem to be evolving. I remember way back when. And maybe Jeff, you can remember this, although I think I'm older. But there's something called the Guitar Institute of Technology, and it's no longer in existence because they actually morphed. Did you recall that? Jeff? You ever?
I remember it from the 80s, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they had there was Guitar Player magazine, and then I don't know how it got spawned, but a couple regular writers on Guitar Player magazine formed this Guitar Institute of Technology, and they started making a curriculum, and then they started adding more and more musical things like the I forget what it is, the Piano Institute and all kinds of stuff. And now it's just called Musicians Institute of Technology. And it's sort of like I would call it. It's more than a trade school, And so, because it's teaching all kinds of stuff, academic stuff, but plus practical stuff. And I notice now that that the music schools are adopting a similar approach. Berkeley music. We'll have to talk to Victoria because she probably knows more about it than I do. So, is this kind of like I'm wondering? Do you see this as evolving to be more? I don't want to say formal, but almost like a curriculum where there's a path you take to songwriting, and
Well, I think in some ways it's kind of an inevitable next step of just the popularity of the instrument, because people who are really into it can't get enough of it, and there's always more. There's always more,
Yeah.
And for some folks, the ukulele is more of a hobby, but for other folks, they take it very seriously. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. There's some people who just want to strum around and just have fun with it, and a lot of other people are really serious about it. So I think there's going to be a need for all the information all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking, we've talked about this many times, but it's like, well, is the ukulele mainstream or not? I think we'll know when the ukulele is mainstream when a music school like the Berkeley School of Music has a major where you can have ukulele as your instrument, because they have cello, string instruments, guitar, piano, voice. Maybe they'll have ukulele, and then we'll know, okay, now the ukulele has, really come into the mainstream.
I wondered, in Hawaii, are there schools there that teach, targeted classes for ukulele, more like Berkeley might or a university might in Hawaii,
Right.
since it's such an established instrument in Hawaii and so
Yes, you
important.
would think that, but they don't have anything special. They have some ethnic studies, like at the University of Hawaii. I think they have a music program or ethnology program that talks about, native instruments and stuff. But to my knowledge, there's no program
Instruction.
other
Yeah.
than there's these well-established schools there for ukulele, and that would be the closest. Those guys, like from when you're a little kid to a young adult, like I think it's the Roy Sakuma School of Ukulele, but they have some of those, and those are very intense. Like, yeah, you can you get some great players coming out of there. So that's
So they're all taught outside in tents?
yeah, right.
I don't
Right, with coconuts and grass skirts, all that. Yeah, it's actual. I wish it was popular back then, or when I was growing up, the ukulele was not cool, so it was all about guitar and Freebird and all that kind of stuff. So
Rock and roll, baby.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
And it's like this Hawaiian stuff. It's like, what's this? I don't know. It was all around, but it wasn't like I was going, yeah, I've got to play Hawaiian music. It was taken for granted, I guess, or I took it for granted.
Well, maybe it's also that the ukulele was so closely tied to Hawaiian music, or in our case, like music to the 20s or something. But now people have taken the ukulele out of those genres and are applying it to everything. And maybe that's why we're seeing a move to a broader approach to the education of it, because people are taking it out of, it doesn't have to be in the ethnic studies. Why would it only be in ethnic studies when people are starting, people like Jake, opening the way to hear ukulele in a completely different way. People are still surprised about that, but those of us that play it know ukulele can do everything. It doesn't mean it's Tiny Tim and Hawaiian music.
Right. And I think in Hawaii, so they didn't, for whatever reason, they didn't adopt it officially into I'll call it an accredited school. It was more about these private schools, because Roy Sakuma's school is very famous and well established, and they've been teaching ukulele for a long time. I mean, I'm sure if I went and joined that school, I would learn a lot. But it was never mainstream enough to be adopted by the colleges. I guess it would be the closest thing. I could be wrong. I'd love to have someone correct me on this from Hawaii.
Interesting.
So, but I do think that it's very much taken for granted. Like there's wonderful things like the steel guitar, a Hawaiian steel guitar, and it's kind of a niche instrument too, and even more so, I think, than the ukulele. And guys like Alan Akaka are doing their best to make sure that it gets it's preserved and continue to people learn how to play the instrument and appreciate it. But it's not mainstream by any means, and there's not a slam dunk that, oh yeah, we're going to have steel guitar players in the future. I kind of I worry about that.
Interesting.
Robotic steel guitar players in the future. That's what I took out of that, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, we're all going to be replaced soon. You can just sit back and do the Wall-E, and we're going to have everything done for us, music and everything.
Do the Wall-E.
Oh, no.
Wall-E.
Yeah.
Stuart, remember when we did Here Come the Men in Black?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's still such a great song.
Yes, if you want to hear it, we nailed it.
It was fun. See, people don't. Here's an interesting model that James Hill proposed. UkeFest 2.0 model. Now here's one that I know is going to be hard. Number one, people practice in advance. Now I don't know if have we ever what what prepare for this. Second is workshop structured for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And I don't know why, but people have a hard time with that. It's like, oh, we don't want to, we don't want to segregate people. And I kind of get that too. We don't want to discourage people like, oh, you're a beginner, and oh, you're more intermediate, not advanced. And maybe that labels are bad, but I guess you guys.
I think part of the difficulty of that is like you were saying earlier, Danielle, is like it depends on who's labeling. You know what I mean? Like I might call someone a beginner, and I might call someone actually intermediate, and they might think they're a beginner.
Right. That's more. That's a lot of times what happens is like. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that was my point.
Okay, but I think that's a good point because it's like what standards until we all agree on a standard of what is the definition of a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I think it is hard that we are going to run into this. And I'd love to hear what I'm pretty sure that if I looked closer, James Hill would have, okay, here's what I define as a beginner and intermediate and advanced.
I think part of the cool thing with his the workshop where he puts together this orchestrated thing where he's got what he's calling a beginner part, an intermediate part, and an advanced part. And I think regardless of what you think you are, you could look at all three of those and go like, oh, I can do this one. This one's for me. Like I looked at his material, and the advanced one, I was like, I don't think I could play that actually. So I would probably play the middle part,
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what you classify yourself as,
Right. And I think that's the nice thing about ukulele in general is that people are pretty casual about it. And, it's not meant to pigeonhole or label people. It's like, yeah, like you said, hey, I look at this curriculum and I think, you know what, I'm comfortable here doing this stuff in the intermediate or beginner. Doesn't really matter where you fall. And so I'll just do it. And I don't think anyone in there is going to go, oh, well, you're just a beginner,
Well, and it's so hard it's so subjective. It's like saying what is good, what is beautiful. These are totally subjective questions. And something that we talk about in one of our workshops is these things are not mutually exclusive either. Like a great technical player isn't necessarily a great performer isn't necessarily a great songwriter. A great songwriter isn't necessarily a great technical player. A great technical player isn't necessarily something else. So, you can have high skills in one area, like you might be really great technically, like you've got, man, your left hand is just flying and your single note soloing is great. But when you have to stand up and do your song in front of someone, you fall apart, So, well, where are you then? You're advanced on the technical part, but you're beginner on the presentation part. So I think that's hard to judge ourselves on that too,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's all a matter of perspective in terms of where you need to develop. And I think,
I think what we want, well, like what's important to you? Like for me, I don't spend much time doing single note soloing because I really dig the rhythm. So I want my right hand to be able to go faster, and I want to do fan strokes, and I want to be able to do complex things because that's just more interesting to me. So I would have trouble reading, not that I can't read the chart, but playing, I would have trouble reading a really complex single note line. It would take me some practice to do that, but I'd feel really comfortable leading the rhythm section. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And we all have areas of interest and strength. And I think, the interesting things is, classical players can read music on the fly, and are so technically proficient in just getting those notes right. And if you ask them, okay, now improvise over this chord progression, they'll be like, duh, huh? And a lot of times, for whatever reason, it's harder. Sometimes it's hard for them to make that switch, going from, oh, I don't have to stay within the lanes. I can just go out the bounds, I don't have to keep that structure all the time. I think that's hard. And some of the best players, when they can make that transition, are amazing, right? They have a classical background and they learn how to improvise and solo, and it's like, whoa, this is incredible. And a lot of them have a hard time with it.
Yeah, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think there's good and bad in the traditional Uke Fest format. Like you were saying, you like rhythm, but someone might not know what they like until they go to one of these festivals and kind of get thrown into a left-hand technique class, or get thrown into a songwriting class, or take the beginner class and realize they're much further along than just a beginner. So I think Uke Fests are great for that, because you kind of start to see what interests you, what you're already naturally talented at, what you want to get better at, where you want to push yourself. And then I think that's where places like James Hill's Uke Fest 2.0 and the Wonderstruck Ukulele Academy comes in. It's for people who have maybe been to a Uke Fest and discovered where they like, where their passions lie and what intrigues them and what excites them.
They want to learn more about.
Right. So it is sort of good to be thrown into, like, I don't know, what would you call it? Like when your generals, when you first go to college, and you like have to take psychology.
Yeah,
just to
you have to be
like
physical science 110.
And then you sort of start to steer yourself into, am I a hobby player who just wants to have fun and play covers and jam with my friends? Or do I want to actually get better at my technical performance skills, my technical soloing? And then, oh, look at me now, before I even knew it, I'm performing as often as these people I took these classes from 3 years ago at Uke Fest. So
right.
I think both is good for everybody.
And I do think James is right that these are to kind of specify it out, because I think there'll be people that do want to explore a little bit.
And I think he has a nice format where you've got the beginners, they do their thing, the intermediates and the advanced, and then he brings them all together to kind of have a jam at the end, or an orchestrated, so to speak, performance together.
I think when a beginner gets into an advanced class and it further makes them feel bad about themselves, like I do sometimes like the labeling of classes, and just so somebody doesn't go in and go, I have no idea how to play this, I'm never going to be good, I'm never going to get the hang of this. Where it's like
one of the first the first Denver Uke Fest, I took a class from Del Rey, and which I went back and took her class when she came like 3 years ago again, and it made so much more sense. But I was just like, this sounds wonderful, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
But it really was, and she had come out and said this is a pretty advanced class, and but yeah, it was it really did make me feel kind of all out at sea.
It's that time I accidentally signed up for the quantum particle physics class.
Whoops. Oh man, you guys, I signed up for a tap dancing class.
Did you really? Is this for real? Oh no.
Yeah, this is for real. This is my lifelong dream, is to take tap dancing lessons. And somehow when I was a little girl, that just wasn't, I don't know, missed that boat. So I've dreamed of it all my life. So over the winter, I signed up for a tap dancing class, and it said it was at the ballet, and it was the beginning tap dancing, very clearly.
Yeah.
So I bought a pair of shoes, and I know nothing about tap dancing except fake tap dancing. Like I can pretend like I'm tap dancing.
She's really good at that.
I got in this class, and I was the youngest person in that class by 25 or 30 years at least. Like there's this group of reaching, older ladies, and they're awesome. Like these ladies in their 80s were like tap dancing circles around me.
What?
And it was so depressing. Yes. I mean,
it was a beginner class. What are they?
Because she was teaching them, I finally figured out it's because they all started together about 1.5 years ago, which was encouraging, because I was like, did you guys know how to dance or not? And some of them didn't know how to dance at all. So they were doing better. But they'd all started this class together. So this group had just been gradually progressing. And the teacher was teaching to her class. So by then she was giving them routines. So what she was giving by beginner, what she meant was like beginner routines. I'm like, I need you to tell me lean forward on your right foot,
Okay.
stick your left one out, and make a sound with the bottom of your foot. Like I needed beginner. So,
Yeah.
So while it was, I was really got taken to school by these 8-year-old ladies who are awesome, by the way, and they have their own group now, and they dance out in public and perform and all that stuff. I'm still seeking my beginning.
Yeah.
And it discouraged me. I have to this point that we're saying it totally discouraged me. And I actually quit going to that class and thought I need to find another class.
Well, yeah, this is the thing where what's the definition of beginner? It's like,
right.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because this has been like my amazing Doug Brown weekend. So yesterday I had, Friday night, there's a North Glen Magic Fest, which it's amazing that I got married to anybody, because being a magician and a ukulele player and all of this.
The best story, Doug.
Do you play accordion? Because that would seal it.
I do play accordion, but yesterday was Friday was the start of this Magic Fest, and I went and saw a magic show, and one of the guys there was a tap dancing magician.
Wow.
Nice. His name was Tim Brown, which you can find a link to his webpage in the show notes. But it was very, very cool. And but awesome. And so yesterday was another magic show and the Denver Ute community, and then getting to talk to you guys. So like this weekend has been awesome. But Doug Brown weekend.
I love that.
I can't imagine that every weekend is like that in your life, Doug.
It's close, but not necessarily.
Magic just follows you everywhere.
Doug, I was a magician's assistant for about a year.
Oh,
What? Get out.
I absolutely was. I know how to do a metamorphosis. The
box. Oh, nice!
Wow.
And I could do the banana in the handkerchief.
Okay. Okay. Whew. I didn't know where you're going with the banana in there.
Whoa. Oh my goodness.
I've been a magician several times for Halloween. We should team up.
Jerry
the scary magician. My Halloween outfit. He's not scary at all. He's
nice.
That's awesome.
Wow, we're certainly learning so much about everything. This is amazing.
It's gone out of control a little bit. Let's get back to ukulele.
No,
we gotta see, people that come to the Ukulele Academy might get more than they're bargaining for.
This is a selling point.
I do too. Tap dancing and stuff.
Choreographed dance routines.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going to transition to another topic. I was hoping to have someone who, I don't know if you guys did busking. I think one of my guests that was trying to get on does busking. I'm having a brain fart. Anyway, one of the patrons that just joined knows Danielle, and she asked this question, and I know you're going to say, well, who is it? She was a student, so I guess I'm pretty sure she's from Fort Collins. Anyway, busking, to jump to the chase here, cut to the chase. So practical considerations, I was thinking, do you guys have any experience doing that? Maybe pros and cons. I don't know. Otherwise, we'll save it for another.
I never fully did it, like every weekend, but I've had experience with it. I think it's a great way to practice your performance skills because you're performing to people who are passing by. You have to have thick skin. You might get tipped. You might not. You might get, hassled by some drunk passerbys. You might have a young child watch you and dance as you play. So
that's the best.
You're kind of being warmed up to any and all circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people are doing it these days and kind of getting discovered from it. I'm not sure if that's like The Voice, NBC The Voice just kind of sets that up to make it look like that, or if that's actually a thing that happens. But I think it's also really great to get experience at shows, though, like learning to use microphones and plugging in, and that ability of live sound is also something that is to be I think respected and appreciated to know how to do that. So busking is awesome and a really difficult. Mad props to people who busk often and practice their skills that way. And it's also just like a great way to play. Then you have a show every night wherever you're standing,
right?
Music and do what you love. So I say busking is cool.
I think, to me, the prospect of busking seems terrifying. I have never really done it. We did it once.
I think about Taos.
In Taos, yeah, it was kind of a controlled environment though. With busking in a show in a venue is the difference between just throwing yourself out on the street and playing for whoever and whatever situation, as opposed to playing in a sort of controlled environment where people are actually there by choice to see performance.
Like at the Old Crow Medicine show this last week, they had at Salina, right? The Arts Council had invited in a local artist. Well, you actually interacted with them more. Do you want to tell a little bit about how that worked?
Yeah, the Victor and Penny opened for Old Crow Medicine show 2 dates this week. And in Salina, Kansas, the Arts Council hired a local musician to busk in front of the theater, so that all people who were coming in for the Old Crow Medicine show would hear and see this performer. And they were allowed to, I assume, give business cards and tell them about their art. So it was a cool chance to kind of have an outside ambiance of music outside of the doors and music inside, as well as an opportunity for a young artist to spread the word about their music to like fans who are coming in to hear like a bluegrass show.
Right. What I like about the way that worked was that it was sanctioned by the Arts Council, and they made space. They made a physical space for them to be, and then also gave them the respect so that. And there's a busker festival here in our area in Lawrence, where the university is.
Oh, really?
And that's yeah, it's huge. And so it happens over a weekend, and there's all different kinds of magicians and all different kinds of stuff, and tons of musicians. And that again they made space for it in a structure and given it the respect that it's due. I think the part of busking where it gets a little tricky for me is when people want you to play for free in a situation that's not respectful, or that they're not making space for it, or like, I love that the Arts Council paid them, but they could also accept tips. So there's actually an opportunity to get paid for your art. And Amanda Palmer talks a ton about this. If you've read about her Art of Asking, she of course was a famous busker and worked for years, made her living at it, and she still asks buskers to come and open her show.
Oh, nice.
She gets a ton of heat for it though, because some people say, "Well, why don't we just pay those people? You who make so much money, why don't you pay those people instead of asking them to come and shill the audience, to ask the audience?" It's kind of depends on how you look at it. But I think the attitude about busking is really changed, and it's becoming a thing and a tool and a way for people who don't have a fan base yet to start to build a fan base. And I think that's cool. As long as at some point you move to a paid show where, ideally you're moving along a continuum where you start busking and people get to know you, and then you can have a show where you're open for Danielle somewhere and you get paid an opener's fee and that kind of thing. And then you get your own show eventually. I think getting stuck in that busking where you're making good art and not being paid for it or not being respected, that's the flip side.
There's also something to be said. We talk about this a lot as performing and touring musicians for our job. There is a certain point where we have to educate listeners and audience members and passerbys how to truly respect music. And to be a busker, hopefully you have good luck and hopefully people tip you, but there is still that perpetuation of like, oh, well, he's just a lowly street musician. He's fine. He'll sleep on someone's couch. He only needs $50. He's doing what he loves. And then there's people like us who we need to make our living doing this. So we can't accept that. And with any career or industry, I'm sure there's varying degrees of people and the ways they're doing it and the income level. But I think I worry with busking, as well as good of an opportunity it is for someone to start, I worry that it might still make people think, and audience members, passerbys think that music, making your living as a musician isn't something that needs to be paid for. Or they go, well, I just saw you on the street and I tipped you $1. Why do you need me to pay $10 for a ticket at your music concert? I'll just tip you. I'll just stream your music for free. I'll just, whatever, rip the CD that my mom bought at your concert. So there was always that sort of difference of the worth and value people put into a performing artist.
I think context is what we're talking about. So with busking, like really, what's the context of it? Like it made perfect sense the other night at the show, but does it make sense when you're trying to be out busking for free every night in front of the Barnes and Noble when you're also the next night trying to get people to come into your show and pay?
Yeah, I wonder if that's an either or. I don't like the either or necessarily. It just seems though that you when you busk, it's a very there's an objective of I'm going to go out there, I'm going to practice my art, and I want to make some money so I can eat, and maybe pay for lunch and dinner for that day, but also the goal hopefully is that you advance art. And I think, maybe some people just like busking for busking's sake and go out there, maybe make some money, maybe learn some performance. I also think that it could be more, I'm going to start off busking. My long-term goal is to go into regular venues. And maybe at some point, then you have to kind of say, well, if I go to a venue on a regular basis, it's not the best thing to busk anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think as I'm thinking about it here too, the context in which I don't support busking is when, for instance, and this happens a lot, a restaurant might say, well, would you just come down and play and I'll let you play for tips, which is a version of busking, but you're really bringing people to their restaurants. So they're benefiting from you busking, which is different than the busker saying, I'm doing this because I do it for my music or I love it, or I'm working on new material. I'm getting over my stage fright. I'm working on this cool thing, which I need to just get out and do it. That feels different when somebody has an agenda. So maybe that's what we're talking. Context and agenda is what changes busking, I think, from being a positive thing to a non-positive.
And I just am really hesitant, right? When you said that, it's like, the restaurants to say, you get to play and we play for tips. And it's like, whoa, that is, you got to really choose that one carefully. It's like, is this really going to help you out? Or is it really just going to depress the whole musician market for everyone, where the restaurants start to expect, oh, I can just get people to pay for free and they pay for tips.
That's the nice thing about they never say to the audio engineer, oh, well, you can get really good at becoming an audio engineer if you come down and mix a couple shows for us.
With the audio engineer, play for tips, right?
That's very well said, Doug.
Yeah.
Oh, did you hear that snare tone? Oh, I'm going to definitely give him an extra $5. He just really worked on that EQ.
Right.
And he was right about it sounding better when the room filled up.
Exactly.
Give him a 5,
honey. All right. Well, I'm all over this thing where, busking can help you out in terms of your performance and getting over stage fright and developing material to see. It's all good, but you really do have to have kind of a thick skin, so to speak, and it tests you. I don't know if I would be able to do it.
And just to be, for those listening that are busking, just to always keep in context, make sure you're not being taken advantage of.
Right.
Of it. That it's of your own volition and because you have a reason and you want to do it for some.
Right. Yeah. And I like the cities. There are some cities, I think mainly in the UK, that have kind of, you get a busking license. I don't know if they have that here in the US.
San Francisco does that, and I think Chicago does it. Yeah.
Cool.
There are some US cities. Yeah.
When Jeff and I first started doing a musical project together, and he was still living in Chicago, working at Blue Man, and I was working up there too. So we wanted to do some music together, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. So we were just going through the list of songs, like, well, what songs do you know? What songs do you know? So we're like, And I had this dream of I wanted to busk in the red line stop at State and Lake, basically, right? And I mean, Jeff was like, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, please. I don't know why. For some reason, that was just so appealing to me because I thought if I can go in Chicago at this super busy downtown red line subway stop and be brave enough to stand there and play my guitar and sing a song, that's going to be something. It meant something to me. Like, and so I get that. But then we found out that they actually arrest people that don't have licenses.
Wow.
And the guy who does have the license, who plays down there at, whatever time, might get a little peeved.
Yeah. So there's a whole schedule about that.
Oh,
and those
you're
people,
kidding. Wow.
so we didn't know they must be making enough money to make that worth it. But so we ended up not doing that.
We found the same thing in San Francisco too, because we were out in Marin County for a while. We thought we had a day off. We're like, let's go do this in San Francisco. But we found the same thing. It's like it's a very regimented thing. There's a license and actually a schedule.
but I love that because then that shows that they've again made space, both literally and figuratively for it, and there's some respect and a structure to it. So
I tried it one time and was so freaked out about whether or not I was breaking rules or breaking laws or, and I was like, because, I'm such a rule follower. I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. And then, But
I think it depends on what kind of person you are too. Cause they've got all the towns have got their regulations and the permits and stuff. But if you're I'm just going to go guerrilla and I'm going to float under the radar and I'm going to just jump down there with my guitar. And I mean, if you can do that, go for it.
Yeah, I think the main thing is the noise ordinance. So you don't want to bring your Marshall stack, and whether or not there's whatever the panhandling. Some cities have panhandling ordinances.
That noise thing too. Like we were shooting a video here in Kansas City on the Liberty Memorial, and we were, is it busking or not busking? We were standing up there getting ready to play, and the security people came over and told us to leave. I guess we wouldn't have been asking for money, but if somebody had thrown a 5 in our case, I suppose we would have taken it. Or in Taos, we did it. We did it in Taos. We had an afternoon off, but we had a big show coming up the next day or that night or something. And so we busked, but we also handed out flyers. So,
nice.
Again, that was more like, was benefit to us to advertise too, because people didn't know who we were. We had never been there before. So we thought that was a way to drum up interest.
Okay. Yeah. As someone who's obsessed with marketing and branding, I think kudos to buskers who are taking the opportunity to advance the word about who they are and their music. Cause a lot of people just do it for tips and whatever. And some people have CDs for sale and flyers and business cards, or even a sign that says their name so someone can look them up later online. Like, never forget when you have an opportunity to sort of advance yourself as an artist.
Well, and know the ordinances around where you're playing, and if you're selling stuff, the city can get you for not having a sales tax license, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, it takes more. It kind of takes some preparation, unless you really want to be guerrilla. And when you see the police officer or whoever coming over, you just pack up real quick and take off.
I'm gonna see here. I'm scared of getting attacked. I'm scared of getting in trouble like you, Doug. And I'm scared of getting attacked. Like someone would be like, run up and take my guitar case and run off with it. And I'd be like, no, even if there wasn't that much money in it, like, no, I actually need that. That case is worth quite a bit of money. Shoot.
Right. Right. But we value you more. So I would say let it go. Because we value your life, Danielle.
Yeah. I'm, instead of running after criminals, getting my stuff back.
Hey, you.
Oh no, I would just cry.
No, it's I take self-defense, and the first thing they teach you is, listen, your life's worth more than whatever they're trying to take. Give them your car, give them your keys, give them your ukulele,
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So that's good busking advice. I think that was a great question and great feedback. I didn't know if you guys are buskers. Oh, one more, not kind of on related to this. Are you guys near Lawrence, Kansas? There's a performer there named Kavehi, who's a looping artist, and she's amazing. I don't know if she busks or not, but I see her a lot, playing out, and Google has had her at the main office, and Intel has sponsored her for something or other. But anyway,
wow.
I don't know if you've seen her.
I haven't.
She's from Hawaii, so
That's cool. Yeah,
tell
that's
her how's
awesome.
it if you
I'll
ever
look
see her.
for sure.
Yeah, she's incredible. I'm so impressed with performers who on the fly go out there and then can loop really well, because I'd be so scared to screw up. It's like you're recording live, and anyway.
Yeah,
If any of you,
Joe's doing it a
I
lot.
do a little bit of that. I'm kind of teaching myself how to do it. I've been doing some solo gigs.
Yeah.
Lately, yeah. So.
What's the secret? Because I am like, do you have
I don't
a
know.
click
I was going to ask you.
I don't know. I just watch this. I watch these looping artists. Like, go and check out Kavehi. She's one of the best.
What I'm figuring out is that there's so many. There's the looping gear that you can get starts from this very basic, tiny little pedal to these loop stations where you have to have a college degree to work it.
Exactly, because I'm like, I was blown away. You can have a verse and a chorus and a bridge. And it's like, what? Wait a minute. Some of the instruments dropped out. How did they get dropped out and get back? I mean, like, what the?
The main way I do it is I have a very simple box. It's one tiny little thing. It's got one button on it. It's basically just like a start and stop sort of thing. And it works better if you're singing, because I just start it as soon as I start singing.
Yes.
As soon as you hit the button again, it starts playing it. So then I can just play over it. It's a pretty basic little.
Got it. Yeah, that one I can handle. I was like, oh, I don't even know if I can handle that. But I mean, my thought is like, okay, I can figure that one out. But the ones where they start layering it and having, verse, chorus, bridge, then I'm like, whoa, how did you?
That's just all about learning the gear. That's just about, okay, this box has 4 buttons on it. I know what that button does. I'm going to learn these other 3 buttons.
Wouldn't it be like, it's almost like playing another instrument, practicing?
Yeah, it is. It is like playing an instrument.
Great timing.
Yeah. And the timing, that's the other thing. I'm sorry, Danielle, go ahead.
No, it is like an instrument. And then you have to, if you have a foot pedal, know exactly when to touch it. And it might be slightly before the beat to get the beat to stick. I've looped just occasionally and played live once when I had a solo show, and it was exhilarating and terrifying. And I think I messed up 50-75% of the time.
No, then it sounds like bossa nova when you screw up, because
so there's that complex rhythms.
You have to practice it. You have to
polyrhythmic.
Yeah, you have to practice it and get used to your pedal or your station just like you would your instrument, or the size you're holding or the strings you're playing with, and it's crazy. I say kudos to. I think gear sometimes gets overlooked as how good you have to be at using certain things to be able to successfully do it. So kudos to people who are using gear out there.
And to that end too, all gear you mentioned earlier, even learning how to practice using microphones and stuff like that. That's something in our performance, back to Wonderstruck, in the performance thing, is giving people a chance to actually play with microphones and play with, microphone stands, and let's practice plugging in and tuning. And how do you make that look smooth? And what are the secrets? Why does it not look awkward when this guy does it? But when I'm up there, I'm like,
we had a moment in our performance workshop in Reno that was kind of revelatory to us, where a performer was coming up, and I think I was kind of acting as sound man. So I adjusted the mic, and one person in the crowd raised their hand and can you describe how to use that mic stand? I'm like, oh, of course. I mean, that's part of performance.
You're right. You're right.
I know how to. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3.
So and while Jeff was being nice, and it was great to have an attentive sound guy who is adjusting all the mics for everybody, we're like, oh, we're going to stop doing that, because what happens when you go to that open mic and there's nobody adjusting that mic for you, and now you're up there nervous thinking about your new song you're going to play, and suddenly you have to mess with the mic stand and all of
speak it.
Yeah, all of this. So I mean, we're gonna in this performance workshop, we're covering all of that, all the way up to
nice.
I mean, it's that people are teaching us what they want to know, and that's what we're hoping to get into, and leaving lots of space for people to bring their issues. That's something else that we learned in the performance workshop, in this opportunity. Everybody's going to get a chance to work with all of us individually and as a group. And we want people to come and say, here's what I'm really having trouble with, because that's when you real of it. We can imagine people's problems, but when people come up, thinking about this one guy, such a great guy. He was a CEO of a company, and he said, I lead my organization. I speak and inspire. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm the top of my field. He loves to play ukulele. He played music when he was a kid, like in high school and stuff. And it has come back to music through ukulele, which I love that story. And he's really good. But every time he stood up to play in front of people, he would be absolutely incapacitated with nerves.
Yeah.
Couldn't make sound come out of his mouth. He would get dry mouth and shake and forget his things. And it was so frustrating to him because it felt so humbling. He felt so confident in this other part. But so, we worked on that with him. And I thought, this is good. We need to know what their problems are. And we need to try to bring our experience to bear to help them. And that's part of what the performance side of Wonderstruck Academy is going to
be cool. Well, I've got a lot of issues, so I'm going to be over there.
We'll start with a 15-minute therapy session.
Please. I mean,
we're going to hug it all out together. It's going to be good.
Awesome.
When I was working at the high school, I'd have some stagehands that were working with me going, well, really, this isn't what I do. I'm really a musician. And one of the things that I would tell all of them is, if you want a sound guy to pretend like you're a real player, being able to walk in and say, this is what I want in my monitor mix, for this ukulele, if you could take just a bit out of the 2K or a little bit out of the 8K, like all of a sudden that engineer is going to look at you like, hey, here's somebody that knows how to do what they're coming here to do. And you don't have to be an engineer, but having just a base knowledge of, okay, this is my mic position that I want to use on my, and this is how I talk into a microphone. Like those are things that really will set you apart from all the other people at the open mic. And so good on you guys. Every engineer is thanking you for your good work.
Absolutely. And that's why you should be tipping the sound man.
Exactly.
The audio engineer.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. All this practical stuff is sometimes overlooked. And, you're thinking about so many things when you're doing open mic, but the basics are sometimes overlooked. Like, how do you use the microphone? What's a gain, structure? What all that kind of stuff. And it's not like you have to be an expert, but just having some of the basic knowledge so the sound guy can help you, and you can help the sound guy.
And you feel more confident because it takes away those things that you're not too sure of and helps you think about your song that you're working on.
Everyone should have a frequency analyzer app on their phone because it makes you look like a genius.
I didn't realize that.
Are you writing that down, Doug?
No, Doug's kidding. No, he's opening this. I'm sure he
RTA is a good one, the one that I really like.
Seriously, RTA? Okay.
Because you get to look at all the different You look real special if you pull that one out.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we always say about you, Doug. Special.
I'm actually writing down RTA app. As you can see.
Put it in the notes.
Well, of course, there'll be a link to it in the show notes.
Oh, nice.
Don't on the notes.
But just one more thing about the Academy. So we're talking a lot about the performance side, but the songwriting side is a big part of it too. And it's creativity is a little bit more general. Like you don't have to be a fantastic songwriter. You don't have to have you don't have to call yourself a songwriter yet, but it's about, I think, reaching into people's creativity, right? Like trying to help them bring out whatever people have in their mind that they want to do, but don't know how to do it yet.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Songwriting is always a really difficult thing to teach because it's so subjective compared to so many of the other technical skills. And I'm looking forward to teaching it with Wonderstruck Ukulele Academy because we're not looking for professional songwriters, but we're looking for people who have a passion and an interest in songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
At UKFest, I find there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'll take this class. This sounds kind of interesting. And then, you know, within 15 minutes, they get in there and realize they're overwhelmed and kind of like got into the wrong class. I've had people leave. Guys.
What?
We're working on it.
Oh, no way.
But I like the idea of working with a group of people who have committed to the idea of having an interest in it, potentially have already started a song or have written a song. And I think so much of it, for me as an instructor, as I'm learning how to be a better instructor, is inspiring students and attendees to go, you might think that your life is boring, but you have something to say. If you've woken up and experienced anything today, you have something to write a song about. So much of it for me as an instructor of any course, especially songwriting, is to encourage people that their ideas are worth it. Their creativity exists. A lot of it is just coaxing it out. And then like helping people find the practical skills to turn that idea or that little light bulb into something that resembles a song with lyrics and music. So it's not an easy task. Why did I get stuck with songwriting, guys?
Because she's really, really good at it.
Yeah,
it is good. It is an art, and
super good at it.
I think that, you know, songwriting, a lot of it is finding that perspective, that angle, that thing, you know, because you can write about almost anything. I mean, you know, if you listen to all the songs today, a lot of the great songs are the ones that you go, I can relate to that one, right? You know, and they come at moments that we all experience. They're able to put it into a way that people relate to and find interesting, and you know, they just want to listen to it over and over again. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of creativity, I'm just going to go off the rails a little. Just last time I showed a little project I was working on. Let me make sure I'm getting right side up. Okay, so here's my project I've been working on. This is an
I'm so excited right now. Oh my gosh.
Who's excited?
Yeah,
That's so exciting.
That's amazing.
Really? Well, anyway, that I'm practicing because I have this idea of like, I don't know why, all of a sudden I said I want to create stuff, and not the normal stuff. I mean, I've done songwriting. I've done okay. I'm hoping this is actually going to lead to more creativity in music, but I know that sounds weird, doesn't it?
Jeff's going to show something to you.
Go ahead. Yeah, love it. But okay.
Should we leave you guys alone?
So what is that? What do you have there?
This is a kit. It's like a Heath kit from the old days. It's an AM FM radio, and it's really to a hobby thing. You know, it's to learn how to. To me, it's so I can learn how to solder. You have to put all these little dots together, so to speak. Oh, look at this. What do you got, Jeff?
He just said,
are we going to geek out with? Oh, that is a classic radio.
Yeah, it's not just a classic radio.
It's also a robot that will destroy cities.
That's right.
So when you're ready.
That's right.
All right, while Jeff's doing that.
Yeah, talk about yourselves.
Yeah, so what I've been noticing is that, you know, one of the things I used to worry about was that as we get into this more digital age, that are we going to lose our ability to create stuff? So if we ever had a nuclear holocaust, we'd all be hosed, basically, you know?
We would know how to do nothing.
Right.
Where's my Twinkie package to open?
Once we run out of the Twinkies, we're dead, you know? And then I started noticing this maker movement where kids and adults would be getting these little microprocessors. You put them together and you make them do stuff. You know, you have to know how to do electronics. You know, have to know how to program. You have to be able to think of how things fit together. And I was like, wow, that's like really cool. Remember that show MacGyver?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Duct tape and gum and
paper
clip.
Yeah.
You could build an airplane from that.
Right. And it's not quite the same, but yeah, it's almost like with this maker stuff, you can do so many very cool stuff. You know, you can hook it up to your Alexa, and you can say, okay, wait a minute, I better not say that because I might trigger it, someone who's listening at home. You know, you can say whatever, Echo, do this. Oh, whoever said it on Echo will not like me. But anyway, you know, you can say do this, and you know, your appliance turns on or off. And it's kind of cool.
There's a big maker movement here in Kansas City. They have a big baker fair. We just had it a month or more ago, and it's just amazing to me how many people are into it, and it's just growing all the time. I find it fascinating. It's cool you're getting into that. I'd like to know more.
So this is the thing that I've been working on these sort of things for a while. Like this is an old just Crosley radio from the 40s.
Wow.
Bakelite.
I mean, that's a real authentic.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what I've done is I've built, this is a distortion pedal built into the back of it.
Nice.
Yeah. So then it's got an output for the switch on the side, and then my in and out over here. So you fire this thing up, and it turns on. So it's like, you know, and this is really more fun than practical, you know, for like everyday application. Like I used to take this with me when we did shows, and I'd set it on top of my amp, and everybody's like, "Well, you have a radio," and I was like, "Well, it's actually an Ibanez tube screamer."
Nice. So you actually put the Ibanez tube screamer circuit in there, and do you use the speaker, because then you can just mic that, and that would be awesome.
Well, no, it's literally just a guitar pedal inside there. So I go into it and then out of it into the amplifier.
Wow. So how did you find out?
You just go in. It's the in and out.
Yeah. So did you literally grab the guts from a Ibanez tube screamer, or did you recreate the circuit?
No, I took it apart. Yeah, those are one of the things I love doing, is taking apart guitar pedals. And there's little modifications you can make to them. And so the pedal in my board right now is one that I've modified, and I've modified this one as well. And just I love all the little electronics and all the
definitely. So you know how to use a soldering iron. Yeah. See, that's what I had to learn too. Yeah, there you go. There's
yeah, is that a Weller?
Yes, it is. How'd you know?
No, the Weller is the one you use.
Okay. I'm just learning on it.
You know, speaking of the Makers Fair, in October, on October 13th and 14th, at the National Western Stock Show, the Denver Makers Fair is going to be right here.
No kidding.
So, I had to look up what date it's going to be, but you're on the list. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so like if I help you do sound, I can get in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be schlepping boxes all day, but yeah.
That is so cool. Well, I think, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why this. I mean, I've been spending hours putting this kit together, and it's been fun because it actually works now. I've got the AM and FM parts working, and
wow, welcome to 1972.
Exactly. I know no one uses I've been listening to the AM stations. Oh my goodness.
Cool.
No one pays it. You know, it's like these fringe places like are all on AM, and anyway. It's interesting. I guess I'll be keeping you guys updated, but I'm making a solid state stereo amp, and it sort of is it's a kit, so I'm not doing it completely from scratch, but I have to solder everything in there. But you know, I remember my dad doing this, and I was just like, I was like, why did he ever do that? And now all of a sudden I want to do it. I don't know what that's about. So we'll figure it out. But I do think that what are your guys' thoughts on like creating things in other areas? Does that help you in your main area of creativity?
Yeah, I think creation itself can just go across any line to anything. You know, it's like what am I trying to say? You know, you're always, if you're making something, you're putting a little bit of yourself into it, you know, even if you're just literally following a schematic on a page, you know?
Yeah.
Can you speak more to that in a more eloquent way?
Well, it's interesting because I've been spending a lot of time doing something that's not music related at all, and have been since January. And I love it. And the weird thing about it, I was afraid that it would take time away from music or creativity or writing. I'm doing a lot of writing this year, but instead, it's given me more passion for it. And I feel like my brain is more awake because I'm using it in a different way. So we spent so much time being full-time musicians and performing artists that doing this other thing has just opened up my creativity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's been really interesting. It's kind of had an opposite effect that I thought it would. So in that way, my answer would be, yeah, I absolutely think that like putting your brain on something else, I do think it's all related. It's like jolting your brain into thinking of things in a different way or approaching something in a different way. And I think that translates right back to your other forms of creativity that you might have.
Yeah, I think creation can inspire creation. So whether or not you're working on your main art, I like to do crafts and basic art and weird things. I laminate a lot of stuff, and I know laminating doesn't sound like the most creative thing, but there is just something about like taking parts and putting it together and then seeing your finished product.
Oh, you sent that note to Jack Conte, and he loved it so much he was showing it. Remember that?
No, did he laminate something?
No, you sent him something. Yeah. When the whole Patreon stuff started and you sent him some stuff, and he was so taken by it. He broadcast that. You didn't see that? Am I just dreaming?
Oh my gosh,
I'm dreaming.
You're gonna find this.
Okay, I'm gonna find that video then.
Send it to boys. Jack's taken by a wonderful woman, but yeah, I think as to what Aaron said too, taking as a full-time musician, you're lucky because you get to spend a lot of time on your craft. But I sometimes feel jealous of the people who work a 9-to-5 doing something that's a little stuffy, and then the second they get home, they're pumped to work on their music and practice. And I've been in an interesting place with creating and sort of inspiration this year. I've had a total writer's block and dry spell the last couple of years, and I've tried different things, and I think the most important thing I've learned is to give myself a break and work on it, but not push it and force myself. So work on other things that inspire me creatively, that are completely different than music, that are a different door entrance into the music I was making. So I like the idea of you guys working on electronics and taking apart pedals, because that can actually be applied to the music you're making. And I think like it makes you care for the work you're doing more if you put even more into it, not just your heart and soul, your practiced hours, but also like something you made, whether it was an instrument or a pedal board. It's sort of like, this is me from the head to literally to the pedal board on the floor at my feet. So it just makes it all seem more authentic and personalized. And especially in like the age of capitalism, we can buy everything we need, but it's cool to return to making it and caring about it, and knowing like the quality of what you're putting into it is the quality you're getting out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Because everything that I'm making, I could buy, and it'd probably be cheaper and just as good or better. Well, I don't know. I'm hoping this amp that I'm making is going to be really good, but at a lower cost. But regardless, you can still buy it without putting all this time and effort into it, right? And I definitely relate to you on the writer's block thing. I mean, I'm not a full-time musician, but I've been trying to do this CD for a while, and that work thing gets in the way. But not only that, it's that I do have great ideas for songs, but then I've just stuck and I'm not inspired yet to just sit down and do that. So I thought, well, let me create this other thing that's creative also, but not directly related, and we'll see what comes of it. Totally. So it's heartening to hear that could be a path forward.
It's like something to put your hands to. Sometimes that's what, when you get stuck, the best thing to do is just keep going. So having something to put your hands to can be really rewarding. And it's the process. Yeah. That's what we all love about these things. Because even if I sew some curtains and I don't sew them right. I could pay someone to do that, but I did it myself. And then when I'm done, it was really less about the curtains than it was about the doing of it. It's the process of doing it that's so enjoyable.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, let's see.
Oh, and as long as we're talking about buying things, so I went to an Etsy store called Paula Pizzini Jewelry, and somebody, Aaron, is wearing a necklace from her right now, and bought my wife her birthday present, and it was because you suggested it, and she really loves it. So, yeah.
So,
yeah,
nice.
That's awesome. I found her up in Chicago, and at the architectural store there on Michigan Avenue, right by the Art Institute, and it was just this incredible jewelry, and I just bought it, and I gave some to a friend, and like all different kinds of things. So that's so great.
So my wife says, "Thank you."
You're welcome.
Wait a minute. So, Aaron, you have a store on Etsy? I'm confused. You have an Etsy store? So what's the connection? Did you recommend it to Doug?
I was wearing it. So I was wearing this necklace, and Doug loved it. And I said, "I'll send you." I said, "Let me tell you." I couldn't remember her name right then, but I saved her little card back to handing out cards and never miss an opportunity. Branding. Nice. So I kept her little card when I bought it in Chicago from the architectural store. And so when I got home, I had it, and I sent it to Doug, and then he found her.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so is Paula, the artist, I'm sure. So is there going to be a link to her in the
probably if Doug has anything to do with it? I'm so grateful to have Doug on the show, because I get discombobulated. I get so into doing stuff. I just Anyway, thank you, Doug.
Thank you,
Doug.
Well, let's wrap up this show, because I'm running out of topics, unless you guys had something you wanted to bring up.
Nope, just encouraging people to come check out the Wonderstruck Ukulele Academy website. You can really get it's very well described there. I feel like it is, and if that feels like it's something that appeals to you or you feel interested in it, come check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
It's going to be a small, intimate group. So we're not looking for everybody to come, but those that really feel inspired by it, I hope you do.
Yeah, I think even just some of the conversations we've had today are things you can expect at Wonderstruck Ukulele Academy, just like artists talking about art. I think it's important we treat the attendees so they can be comfortable, but also treating them as an equal. Like, let's hear what you're going through. We'll tell you our stories, and we can talk about the things we're making and the ways we create, which is exciting, because as an artist and a maker, you sort of get excited to get together with like-minded people, and you can start being like, "Oh, you do that too? Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, and that community part of it is a big part of it. Like, this has to be a safe space when you're talking about creativity and sharing projects that you're just working on, and when we're pushing yourself to go to a new place or try something you're interested in, like me and my tap dance class. You want to make sure it's a safe space and that it's an encouraging, fun environment. And so that's primary. That's something that we spend a lot of time talking about, because it's an honor when people share themselves with you, and we recognize and acknowledge that, and we want to make sure that is preserved, and then we have fun doing it. It shouldn't be scary. It should be fun.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you guys are collaborating with the music district. I didn't realize that the music district approached you, and I really hope that the music district continues to take off here, and that's why I'm really glad to hear that you guys are going to be featured over there.
It's such a cool thing. They're helping artists in so many different ways on so many different levels. So for someone like us, we're professional touring musicians. They were looking for ways to help people, not just people getting started in it, but people that are already doing it. What is it we need? Well, one of the things we need is sustainability for a long-term career. And part of figuring that out is figuring out how do we capitalize on the experience that we've had, on the things that we do best. We all like to teach. We all like to write and play. and we like the community part of it, and we like to have a good time. So all those things kind of come together, and they said, well, here's something that we can help you develop that you can take away and can be part of your long-term sustainability plan. So they're really doing amazing work.
Wow.
I feel grateful to them for helping us start this the first time. And then we hope it's successful and we take it away. I mean, they say a successful project for them is that we take this ukulele academy out and, take it elsewhere. So,
yeah.
Really,
that's a great long view. And that's really neat that is, because they have world-class, I think, world-class facilities and
for sure.
they're really trying to.
We'll be in the middle of all that for the weekend. It'll be great.
Absolutely. And at the same time, they're really trying to promote and trying to go for sustainability, and that's really important. It's not just like, hey, come in and that's it, but it's more about, hey, what can we do to nurture and create, sustain and build throughout the community? And I hope that's what continues to happen there. Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Doug, you were kind of quiet here. Did you, in terms of what's happening with you? Let's start with Doug because we've been really feel like I've been talking too much. Doug, what's going on?
Well, there's just so much interesting stuff to hear that it's that I'm quiet, But we had a terrific meeting yesterday. We had our city songs at the Denver Youth Community, and it was fantastic. And then coming up this next weekend, we have not only a Kana Kapila at the Shack on Friday night, but Philip's yearly thing. Is and it's not good that I can't remember what it's actually called, but the big thing down in the
Ilani, is it the Ilani Club sponsors it? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what it's called.
So that should be super awesome this weekend. And then next month, the theme for the Denver Youth Community is going to be murder songs.
Wow! Wow! Okay, that's different.
We're trying out different themes this year, and so this was a little different.
Yeah, so sounds like a killer topic.
Wow! Awesome.
Hey, how was Yukon?
Yukon was great. We super missed Tracy, but and for the first time ever, the person that was camping right next to us, he didn't come to me, but he came to one of our other strummers and went, "You guys are making so much noise!" And rah, 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 rah.
Oh, really?
And so we kind of moved over on the other side of our little camp area, and the trailer there was like, "Yeah, you guys can play for as much as you want, and it's all good." So it all worked out. But it was super cool.
I cannot believe someone complained about that. All right. All right. So let's go over to Kansas City. What's happening for you, Aaron and Jeff? What's your next show or gig coming up? You coming to coming to Colorado?
Yeah, we're going to be there next week. So next Thursday, the 23rd, we're going to be in Fort Collins at the Magic Rat.
First time there.
Yeah, it'll be our first time there over there at I think it's the Elizabeth Hotel in downtown.
Nice.
Yeah, and so we're going to be there, and
we're playing with Casey Cormier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Denver bassist Casey Cormier is going to be with us, so that's going to be fun. And then we'll be spending the whole weekend in Colorado. We're going on to Colorado Springs on Friday to do a uke workshop and a concert there at the Dale J. Miller Center.
Wow.
And on Saturday, we're in Creed at the Headwaters Music Fest.
Woo!
Yeah, I've never been to Creed, but everybody says it's incredible. It's beautiful.
I did a summer stock as a lighting guy down there for an entire summer, and have never been so drunk in all of my life.
This is what Kansas City actors tell me too. The fest is like the summer stock there is a wild party.
Absolutely.
And what's going on in Colorado Springs? You said, is it a ukulele festival or is it just a concert with workshop?
It's the Dale J. Miller Center for Guitar Studies, I think is the full title. And so they're bringing us in to do an ukulele workshop, and then we'll do a concert afterwards.
Cool.
So yeah, so it's kind of two different tickets. You could buy just for the workshop or just the concert, or then there's a discounted ticket if you want to come to the concert and the workshop, which of course we hope everybody wants to come and do both.
Awesome. And Danielle, so are you vacationing in Kansas City, or is there?
Yeah, I'm going to be spending some time here over the summer and fall.
Really?
So just an extended vacation. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I have the month of August off, which is going to be great for me, but I head out on a West Coast tour in September, starting at the Port Townsend Uke Fest with a lot of awesome folks like Sarah and Craig and the Quiet American. A ton of, I think Del Rey's going to be there too. A lot of really great people. And then I head south and in San Francisco. So all my tour dates are up there. And I've also, in the discussion of trying new things, I started a marketing company, and I've been doing like content creation for other musicians and friends. And I'm actually releasing a music video I made for my friend Pamela Makala tomorrow on the internet. So lots of exciting things that are not necessarily Daniel Ate the Sandwich related, but from the well that is my heart.
Well, I have to tell you that the licensing your music, although not directly related, but you've had several licensing deals, and people make their living off of doing jingles and things like that, and just licensing the music to different shows and stuff. Because you had a did the Peter Pan reboot, did they contract you, or did they just find your song and they said we want to use it?
We have mutual friends, and actually the actor who's in that was in My Terrible Dinner Guest video.
Oh, okay.
He and I became friends during that shoot, and then we have the mutual friends. They're the guys who make all of my music videos.
Neat.
They're friends now in LA, and so it was sort of a friendly connection where the guy said, "Hey, I love your music, and I think it'd be perfect. Could you write an original song to go with this web series, which is called The New Adventures of Peter and Wendy?" It's a YouTube web series, a spinoff of the Peter Pan classic tale. So I wrote a song called "Never, Never, Never Gonna Stop Loving You." And that was all of I've had a lot of really good luck with licensing and getting songs in movie and film. And they've all been kind of just luck. And
I don't talent.
Well, talent,
luck, but you have to take.
But I don't have like a publishing agent or like any certain connection in the business. So that'd be an interesting thing to explore someday if I really wanted to get into that. Exploring submitting my music to be considered for publishing all over.
Exactly, and a lot of people just my understanding is they say here's some songs, take your pick, and then people come and choose. Once they get known, they choose and then they license it. So yeah, very cool. Awesome. I think that I have basically run through my whole topic list, and we've been talking for hour and a half. And people out there, thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. Get over there if you like the show and you want to support this kind of show, the Ukulele Podcast. Go to patreon.com/OokTown, OokTown. You can find our podcast on iTunes, and I just submitted. Hopefully Spotify will approve me and start distributing my podcast there. But you can find me on the other Google Music and other. Just search your podcast favorite place for OokTown, OokTown. And just support the show, because that's how we do it here. All right.
Thank you, Stuart, for having us on the show again. This is really fun.
Thanks for asking. I was like, hey, we got to get you guys back on. I've been wanting to have you on. So thanks so much to Aaron, Jeff, Danielle, and my co-host, Doug. And like we do on every show, let's say aloha on 3. 1, 2, 3. Aloha. Good job. All right.
Cool. See